Yeah, went down and did our debt-free scream at the Dave Ramsey Studios in Tennessee, did the whole thing. And that was a huge part of our journey, but that was also putting the kids first in a way of building legacy. It's not about what little Johnny wants right now. It's what little Johnny needs and what kind of foundation and legacy you are building with your family, with your children.
Welcome to Our Family Invests, the podcast where successful couples come together to share their inspiring stories of balancing family, life, and business. We're Mike and Caroline Neubauer, husband and wife entrepreneurs striving to live our best lives with our family at the center. This podcast celebrates the couples who inspire us, invest in each other, and raise those around them to the next level. Join us as we explore their challenges and victories. Let's learn, share, and grow together. Today, we're excited to introduce Bob and Tammy Richey, a couple who have weathered the highs and the lows of entrepreneurship and life together with grit, faith, and determination. High school sweethearts, they've raised two amazing kids and recently celebrated the arrival of their first grandchild. Bob's a Navy veteran and civil engineer by trade, but he's also a skilled bonsai tree arborist, bringing patience and precision to every aspect of his life. Tammy, who began her career as a teacher, quickly discovered her true passion for real estate. And together they started flipping homes in 2016, began acquiring rental properties in 2019, and haven't looked back since. In 2021, Tammy was able to 10x their rental portfolio to over 100 units, syndicating an apartment building and managing 16 midterm rentals. Most recently, she launched a wholesale and flipping company in Northeast Ohio with their son, Tyler. The Richey's journey is a testament to the power of resilience, teamwork, and staying scrappy in pursuit of a shared vision. All right, you guys, I know there's so much more to your story that I kind of glossed over there. So in your own words, fill in the gaps and tell the audience a little about each of you, what you do, what you've done, and what you're most proud of. But here's the twist. Bob, I want you to tell us about Tammy, and then Tammy, you tell us about Bob.
Oh, boy. Wow. Okay, so a little bit about what Tammy has done. She's done quite a bit since I first met her. Like you said, we got to know each other in high school, and both of us were just dumb kids back then. She invited me to come hang out with her down by the beach when we were young, and that was kind of when we first got to know each other, hung out quite a bit, and then she was wild enough to come visit me in Florida while I was in the Navy, and then to come live with me in Hawaii when I was in the Navy. And she's just been exciting ever since. She always had a passion or a dream to go to college. I actually didn't have that dream, and she inspired me to go. That was shortly after we got out of the Navy. And I think that I know that she got her degree in teaching because she wanted to be available for our family. She's always put our family first. And so she actually got her degree in something just so she could bounce to wherever she needed to, based on where I might be working or where it might be best to raise our kids. And so from the very beginning, she's always put the family first. And she put everything on pause for a long time while I had a career as a civil engineer, and is now an entrepreneur, and it's just like fire every day. Something new and exciting. I never know what's gonna come the next day. So she keeps me on my toes and keeps me young.
That's good to say as we're approaching 50. All right,
Tammy.
So Bob. Yeah, so I was like 15 years old, and I had this friend, Joe, in high school, and his dad was a doctor, and he took a 1-year stint about 2 hours away from where I lived at the beach in Southern California, up in the high desert. And so he said, hey, I met this really great guy. You should come up. Like, he's my best friend now. We can all be friends. And it was this long-haired, blonde, guy. He was so hot. And so we hit it off, but we were just friends in high school. And, we would meet up at parties and get together whenever our mutual friends were together. And then, he went off into the military, which was just super weird because he was kind of like the cool party guy in high school. And I was like, the military. So whatever, he went off and did that, and went into like a division of the military. It's a little bit higher, a little bit more rigorous. And so he became a nuclear engineer on a submarine, and served active duty for 6 years, and then inactive duty for 2 years, and then 2 more years of active duty. So 10 years total of service.
Wow.
And sorry, it always chokes me up because I'm super proud. That's like a very big,
That's really nice.
That's awesome.
just kind of cry easily. It's probably a magnesium imbalance, whatever.
That's the health thing.
That's the health thing. Yeah.
Wow.
So he did submarine duty, and then he had a little bit of trouble. And so I flew out to Hawaii to help him out. And he was like, hey, you should just stay here. And I said, well, I'm not going to shack up with you, but if we get married, I'll stay. And he said, okay, let's do that. And so we got married the next day. We were 20 years old. Yeah, it's 30 years later, and here we are. And
it's almost like she dared me, and I was like,
and you said yes.
I'm gonna win.
Dog dare Bob. There's no way he will take the challenge. Yeah, no, that's true. That's facts. And
were you together at the time dating?
We were, yeah. We had been dating for about a year. Yeah, we reconnected after high school, and we had been dating long distance about a year. And yeah, so we got married, and then he took a job up in Northern California after the military. We were stationed in Hawaii, so we were there for 5 years. And so we moved up to Northern California, and then he decided to go back to school when I wanted to go back to school. So at 28, we quit our jobs and moved to Arizona and went to school full time, where he got his civil engineering degree. And then he took a job. He had an internship his last year, and they offered him a job after graduation doing residential like waterway development. And he graduated in December of 2007 in residential civil engineering in Phoenix. So 6 months later, of course, he was out of a job.
Yeah.
And so he took very quickly got picked up by a headhunter and was offered a job like lickety split in Ohio, of all places. And so he took that job. We moved the family to Ohio. He moved up through the ranks there and moved into, and he worked for Hitachi Medical Systems doing the site planning for hospitals where they put MRI equipment. And so it's like this whole like, I don't know, Gauss fields and things that nobody knows about except for people like him. And he did that for a few years and worked up into management. And then he managed like 19 guys on the East Coast, and did that for a few years. And then the lease was up with the Japanese, and the Japanese took it back over and Six Sigma'd the whole thing and cut, personnel. And so he was one of the first or last on. So he was first off. And so I said to him, what do you want to do? Why don't you I don't think you love what you do. Why don't you kind of figure out what you want to do? Well, while he was figuring it out, he was getting his resume together, and he called his old boss from Arizona and said, hey, can I still use you as a reference? And of course, everybody loves Bob. And he was like, I got one better for you, Bob. I got a job for you. It's in Independence, which is 20 minutes from our house. So instead of thinking about what he should do, he took the job, went back into civil engineering, and they had just gotten the contract to do the Football Hall of Fame. And so that's what he was hired on with 4 other engineers to do that project. And 6 months into the project, they actually weren't awarded as much of the project as they thought. So he was laid off again. A healthy severance, though, which was lovely. And I said, hey, this time, can you chill and figure out what it is you want to do? Because I don't think you love the instability of this. I think you thought that. I think he had visions of like engineering being this very stable thing and, whatever. But the type of engineering he was in was a little bit less stable than he had desired. He said, you know what? I've always wanted to flip a house. I said, great, let's flip a house. So we practiced. I said, okay, you can have the bathroom in the basement. You remodel it, do what you want to do, learn how to do tile, learn how to do trim work, learn how to do the plumbing, all that stuff. And so he practiced while we practiced sheriff's auction bidding. So we'd go to the sheriff's auction on Fridays and write down what we would have bid for everything, and then watch the auction, and did that for a couple months. Finally got up the gumption to actually make an offer on a property. And that started our DIY flipping journey. And so Bob did all the like plumbing, electrical. We did framing together. I did all the like drywall, tile work, finished stuff. Bob's not a finesse guy. And so he did that for, like since 2016. And then we were like, well, this hurts. Nobody's getting any younger. We can't like do this way forever. So we kind of pivoted, and he kind of retired out of it. So I think that was good and bad, because I don't think he was really ready for that. And it started a new self-discovery chapter in Bob's life. Like, who am I outside of my identity at work? And so he is still on that journey. He helps out with all of his unique skill sets in our business whenever I need it, which is just a huge blessing to me and the team as we're going and doing something a little bit different that doesn't have to be built on his shoulders. So he is free to like go find out who he is, which is where the bonsais come in. And there's literally one on my table, on my counter right now. That's under a special
awesome.
light, whatever. And so, yeah, through all of that, he has just been a stable provider for the family, the one who will do whatever is needed. And now he is trying to work on himself to be better for me, and also for our marriage, for our kids, for all of that. So that is Bob.
I mean, you covered a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
But where did the kids come in? Were the kids born in Ohio or California or Arizona or?
Oh, Alexandra's Kamaina. She was born at Triple Army Medical.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
She spent her first years of life in Hawaii. Grew up on like literally physically grew on pog juice and koi and kiwi. And so she had a very unique palate. Amazing. As a toddler moving back to California, and she was like, pog juice. We're like, they don't make that here,
Yeah, we had her shortly after we got married, and like
2 years after we got married.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, we got married when we were 20. We had her when we were 22, and then we had Tyler when we were 25 up in Northern California.
Okay.
So Tracy, California. And then at that point, I stopped working after we had Tyler, and stayed home with the kids until they were in school full time, and did odd jobs, did whatever I needed to do to make ends meet. I've always been a serial entrepreneur, and always had that fire and drive inside of me. And so, Bob was off doing his thing, and I would fit jobs in. And like one of the first things was our property tax bill came due, and it was $5,000 more than what we expected when we moved into this house in Northern California. So I went, well, I could sell Tupperware. So I went and started a Tupperware business, and in 6 months, our team took number 9 in the Western United States.
Wow.
I don't do anything little. It's always all or nothing.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while.
She also had a screen printing business.
Did that for a couple of years. Yeah. So, but the kids were always the main focal point, because you don't get a do-over with your kids, right? And and so for us, it was the kids have to be first and foremost. And it doesn't mean we didn't focus on other things. I know this about our journey, but probably a lot of people, especially in the real estate world, don't know this part about us. But we found ourselves after that second layoff in Ohio, $500,000 in debt, and that did not include our house. And so we went to a Financial Peace University meeting at church one January and started our debt-free journey. And it took us 7 years with kids in middle school and high school in tow. But we scrimped and scraped and sold literally all the furniture in our house, and, did everything we could on just his salary, his $70,000 a year salary, and paid off that $500,000. It took us 7 years.
Amazing.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Went down and did our debt-free scream at the Dave Ramsey Studios in Tennessee, did the whole thing. And that was a huge part of our journey, but that was also putting the kids first in a way of building legacy. It's not about what little Johnny wants right now. It's what little Johnny needs, and what kind of foundation and legacy you are building with your family, with your children. And so it doesn't seem like it was very, family first, child first, from the, like outside looking in, right? But it very much was something that was integral to building our family strong. And so we had to be very creative when the kids were younger.
Well, that was the other thing that it was interesting because, like she said, she stopped working after Tyler was born, but then she also decided to teach them through middle school at home. So she did
we
homeschooling, and then the entrepreneurship works in there because she also got other kids, homeschool kids, to come over, and their parents would pay for her to more or less private tutor, private teach.
Start a little school in my basement.
Kids. So it's just been always really interesting to keep the kids close, and it pays off so much later on. The discipline early on pays off so much more when, our son is 24.
He just turned 24.
24, and, he's having a normal family and a normal, he's, had a child as there isn't all the drama.
They're following in our footsteps. Both our kids got married at 20. So our daughter she was 21, I think, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe she was. But they
both got married really
They
young.
got married young, so she's been married for 4 years. Our son's been married for 3 years, already has a baby, they kind of followed in our footsteps of, get married young, start your family young. That doesn't work for everybody. It happened to work for them,
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because they're starting their journey so much better off than us because they are starting it without debt. They both have their degrees. They have their master's degrees. They have no student loan debt. They came out of college with no debt. And so they can go and do what they can pursue their passions, and they don't have to worry about what the paycheck is. They can take a job for whatever they want. And our daughter works for a nonprofit and, could probably make triple what she does working in the private sector, but she loves what she does and she didn't have to make that decision, which was just awesome for them.
And speaking of your kids, what do you love about your kids? Because they're such a big part of your life. They're in Ohio with you as well?
Yeah, so our son lives about 10 minutes down the road here with our daughter-in-law and Finn, our baby grandbaby. And then our daughter and her husband, Cord, live 2 hours south in Columbus. And so we have a house down there near them, a house here with them, and then we technically live in Florida.
But what you were
what do we love about our kids?
What we love about
Yeah, you can go first.
I love how much Alex is like me.
I was going to say that. I love how Alex is a carbon copy of Bob.
It's just so great because Tyler's a lot like Tammy, and then there'll be disagreements or, a vibe going on in the household. Right. I can just look at Alex and go, honey, you know what I mean. And she's like, yeah, these other two are crazy. So we have kind of like a different code or I guess conversation style where we understand each other and have the same view on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Tyler, I'm just so proud of how intelligent he is. It kind of like blows me away, and it's weird because I can even tell now that he's older, like sometimes he'll dumb stuff down to talk to me about it. And it's just like
not condescending way or patronizing.
No, not like that, but
in a very loving way.
We get into gaming, like strategy games and stuff like that. And he's just so many levels over me on everything from business strategy to game strategy to conversational, stuff. So I just really love that.
How neat that you can see the evolution of your children too, right? And to still have that kind of that humbleness because we can always learn from our kids. So
yeah. And I will say that also, we have 2 other kids. We have Cord and Tara,
right.
Our non-bio kids, right? Our children in love, not in law, right? So I love that Tara is such a kind, compassionate, loving person who really supports Tyler and gives him space to be who he needs to be. I think she's just an incredible person and is sacrificing everything for their family. I think also like she's giving up her career to stay home with Finn. And then Cord has just been such an amazingly um like opening. I don't know the words to say, but like Alex is she's a clencher, right? And she just like clenches. And Cord is very like open and free flowing and provides a lot of emotional like levity for Alex. And so, I can't talk about our kids without talking about all of our kids. And
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think that it's so awesome how they have folded into our family and how much they love our kids.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we'll move to Bob. If you could answer this, what's a personal insecurity or fear that you've had to overcome in either business and or marriage?
Um, I think that's something that I've been working through lately, and I was even thinking of this today, is that I was raised, unbeknownst to me, to think less of women.
Mm,
And it's been hard for me to trust Tammy as much as I should have, throughout our marriage. And we've just started to talk about this much because I haven't been vulnerable enough to give up the pride of the masculine side of our relationship,
yeah.
or what was taught to me as the masculine side of our relationship from a young age. So I guess I'm insecure about that. It makes me feel vulnerable to stand to the side and have Tammy be in charge of all the business, all the family's endeavors, and to trust her leadership. There can be a lot of different perspectives on females being the leader in a relationship, and what does that exactly mean. And it's created a lot of friction um, throughout our marriage. So it still makes me feel vulnerable to kind of be that, I guess, just to admit it, that I was
Sure.
wrong for a lot of that time. So.
And you've done so much. So it's almost like sometimes Mike and I refer to it as steering the ship. Like we take
Mm,
turns. And
mm,
so it sounds like right now it's Tammy's turn.
yeah.
And you've always had to be there to support each other. It's just the roles are kind of turned right now, which is kind of amazing because that doesn't always work.
Yeah. Well, and it hasn't been easy at all.
No, it hasn't been.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
hasn't
It's been
been
very
great
difficult.
lately. I mean, and like we don't have any trouble saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, we're in a covenant. Nobody's going anywhere. There's no choice. There's no
Yeah.
choice here for this not to be the thing, right? That there's no out.
Yeah.
And so we learned long ago, like if you're going to be mad, I mean, you may as well get over it pretty quickly because you're going to get over it eventually. So why drag it out? Why make yourself and the other person more miserable?
That's a good
So
point.
we've been going through a lot lately and trying to keep that short like account of
Yeah.
things as
Mhm.
we're trying to navigate this. Because I've always led from underneath and like, handled the family finances and handled but that's not the same as like, hey, I'm going to be in charge of all of our businesses and, everything. And so it hasn't been easy, but not like, not having an out, like I think it just makes it a lot easier because that's one less conversation on the table, if you will.
Hey family, real quick. If you would prefer to watch your content, head on over to Our Family Invests on YouTube. You can watch this podcast and more over there. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon too to make sure you never miss an episode. And now, back to the show.
That's so good. I really love and appreciate, Bob, you going into like how vulnerable it makes you feel. And I think that we're in this transition kind of stage right now where you and I are close to the same age, and when we grew up it was like you were the man, you provide, right?
Yeah.
And that was a thing. And then I think maybe around the turn of the millennium or whatever, it just kind of started to shift where that didn't have to be the way it was anymore. And I think for
Mm,
people like us that kind of grew up in the 80s and 90s, like it's hard to it's hard to change with that, right? Like we want to be like, well, this is my wife. I have to provide for her, right? Because this is what we were always taught growing up. I'm curious, like, I know your story pretty well. Tammy, you and I have been very close for a very long time. Um, but, I'm curious, like, has there ever been a point where things just got really bad, either with the business or with your marriage or with, with your family, whatever, when you didn't know if you could do it anymore? And if so, what made you stop and pull the pieces together?
I'll tell you one story from early on in our marriage, before we were so solidified in we're in a covenant, we're not, nobody's going anywhere thing. Alex was a year and a half old. Bob had maybe seen her for 3 months out of her life. Being a submariner is difficult. My dad had just died of cancer. I was 25 years old. And we were having a phone call, and it was really, really bad. Things had gone really, really bad. I had gone home to take care of my dad, and now he had just died. And, I'm an only child. There's nobody else to bear up under that. And on a phone call, I was like, I don't know if this is worth it. Like, I've got my own job. I've got my own apartment. I've been raising Alex myself, like what value is this bringing me right now? And Bob said to me, if you can honestly tell me right now on the phone that Alexandra would be better off without me in her life going forward, I will gladly grant you a divorce.
Wow.
And I went, how? There's no way I could say that.
Yeah.
There's no way I could say that would be true. And that pulled me back from the brink. And
this is when Bob was on a submarine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And he was getting ready to get out of the Navy, out of active duty.
Yeah, what happened is I was still in Hawaii, and Tammy and Alex had moved back to Southern California because the way that the ship's schedule was, something like the last 6 months that I was in the military, I was going to be on shore, and then I had to put in a special request to not be taken back out to sea because Tammy's father was dying. And I put in a special request to get out of the military a few weeks early because it was actually that urgent that I may miss him dying by a couple of days. And so
he was supposed to get out March 15th, and my dad died March 9th.
Yeah, so I got out early, but I was kind of like sitting there waiting to go. She's sitting there with her dad.
I was already there.
And I was on my way back, to be with them. But it had been bad for a while because I was just out on a submarine. I mean, I wasn't even.
Right. There was no.
I wasn't a.
And on a submarine, there's no mail, there's no email, there's no phone calls, there's nothing. They go out to sea for 6 months. They surface once in the middle. If he's got duty that day, he doesn't even get to get off the boat to call me. I mean, it was miserable.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know what we were getting into, getting married in that condition. Right. And I think that I assumed that it would just kind of pass by. I would get out soon enough, and then we could go live happily ever after.
Right.
And it if I remember back that far, it surprised me a little bit with how unhappy she was, because I felt like I was doing everything I could within the the military confines, but she was there by herself. So
yeah.
Is that still true to the schedule now? Do families just go through that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
talk about relationship test.
Yeah,
it's a different type of family structure, but that's I guess the other thing that I wanted to say is, neither one of us knew what we were getting into, and that didn't work for us. I mean, there are some people that works for. I mean, there's doctors' wives that live that horribly. You know, there's all kinds of
firemen's wives that are alone days of the
schedule. Yeah.
There's
plenty of people that does work for, but I think that didn't work for us. We didn't have a relationship built up yet. We had only dated for like a year, long distance before we got married. We were really young. We had a kid, all this stuff. And I had gone through a whole bunch of stuff while he was out to sea for 6 months, in the middle of my dad getting diagnosed and dying in that 8-month or 6-month time frame. I had found out I was pregnant. We were trying to get pregnant before he went back out to sea, and the test was negative when he left, but a week later it was positive.
Oh,
But then a couple months later, I lost the baby. And so I had gone through all of that, and he didn't even know I was ever pregnant because they won't give him news on the boat. I tried to send word and they wouldn't give it to him.
Wow.
So like all of this had gone on. And that's why I was like, I've handled a miscarriage, raising our kid, my dad dying, I'm handling my mom.
What is
right. But Bob never even knew.
He never
Right.
knew anything of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was difficult. And then further on in our relationship, not too terribly long ago, we kind of hit another breaking point. The business being stressful and getting a new business off the ground and kind of like buttoning up one business and kind of using that capital to start another one, and that capital just being blown through, as we're trying to get something off the ground, hit a few snags, we're not doing great. And sort of the same thing, different foot, Bob was kind of like, had a kind of a, I'll just say kind of like a meltdown one weekend and was like, if you want, like, fine. If you want a divorce, if that's what you're asking for, like, I'll just go get a 1-bedroom apartment and, live my life. And, you can go do this on your own. You don't need me. And I had to snap him back into shape and go, first of all, this is a covenant and it's not breakable. Second of all, you have a wife and children who love you dearly, and you have a family. You don't get to take the easy way out and just go, oh, I'm just going to go sit in a 1-bedroom apartment. My life's just going to be whatever it is. Yeah, that's not an option. And it's kind of wimpy to do that. Like stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of snapped him back in a little bit too. Like, oh yeah, I forgot that there's no out and I have a family, and that would be kind of wussy to like, just,
Yeah.
You guys have,
it is.
you guys have gone through some really hard times, and you've had some pretty incredible wins too. Like
Mhm.
over that, all the years that you guys have been together, has your definition of success changed?
Mhm.
It has a lot. And what the thing is too, that it's changed for each of us.
Mhm.
And I think that that's difficult because we should probably talk about that more often. Tammy and I should talk about more often having, the same goals, or at least looking at the goal the same way. Because I know a lot of times she will have a higher expectation, a higher goal than I do. And so I'll be there like, hey, this is great. I'm satisfied. And she's like, we're only 90% there.
10%. We're 10% there.
Yeah.
Bob doesn't like to set goals. I'm a real goals driven person. Every year when I go, okay, it's January 1st, we need to sit down and like make our plans for the year, we have a big fat blowout fight. We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, but
it honestly is. So we have been trying to work through that. Like, instead of saying what are the goals, it's the why are the goals. It's the why do I want it to look this way? He I think had a misconception that I wanted it just for like maybe material gain, like let's just have a nicer house, let's have a nicer whatever. Like that was never my intention for any of it. There's certain things that I wanted him to have because he sacrificed and was in the military. He sacrificed and took jobs he didn't want. He sacrificed and went back to school, like all those things. And I wanted to give him the retirement that I thought he was due. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
He wants to not have responsibility and be able to like dive into hobbies and do all of that kind of stuff. And I wanted him to have the freedom to do that. But I didn't discuss that. Why? I just discussed what the goals were, like why I wanted the business to make $1 million the first year and why this and why that. And it wasn't. And so it got lost in translation. And he's like, well, I don't need anything else. I don't need the business to make $1 million. And I'm like, but you do. because you want this, this, and this, and it's not that he wants things, he wants experiences, he wants freedom, like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I think talking more about the why behind the goals is what we're working on right now to try to make those conversations go smoother.
Well, and what I think is so interesting is you've gone through so many roller coasters and struggles. You both know you're committed to each other and to your family. And it sounds kind of like just a different language because you both want to honor each other. You both admire each other so much. And your vision is maybe not super clear to each other, but you're both trying so hard to honor your spouse, which is a beautiful thing. And it just feels like maybe a different language.
Yeah, I appreciate that because that happens. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, but you could be doing something as silly as getting a glass out and trying to get water for your spouse,
Right.
and they're irritated that you're in their way because they're trying to get their own glass of water, and it's like, wait a minute, we're trying to help each other out,
Yeah.
but now we're kind of in each other's way.
It's kind of one of those back to the love languages of
Mhm.
you gift in the way that you want to receive or you picture it, but it's not necessarily the way they receive love. And
Mhm.
so sometimes it's just getting back on the same page in respects to goals and the vision and having that open communication, right?
Yeah, yeah.
um, I see the love. Um, I think that you have the way that you speak about each other shows that you admire each other so much. And are there any other mentors or books or teachings that have just been super influential to both of you that have kept your relationship or your business solid?
Yeah, well, first of all, we are both professing Christians. And so, like, our faith really helps us be better people just individually. And I really believe in that whole triangle thing. Like, Bob's on one end, I'm on the other, and God's at the top. And the closer we grow to God, the closer we grow together. The triangle, does this. So that is, one thing. And we've had some great like mentors both in business and in life, in like different phases of our life, that have really helped us. But another thing that really helped us was going through like Enneagram training and coaching, and I think that really helped us with our communication for a very long time, like through a very pivotal time when we were, growing the businesses, and I was kind of like taking the helm completely. And that helped a lot with our miscommunication, or like our, speaking different languages, trying to say the same thing. I think that was really helpful.
Mm.
What other things?
I think the Enneagram was huge in understanding the way that Tammy acts and thinks, and even understanding some of the things that I act and think on. It was just huge to get some of that insight. For some reason, the book Boundaries sticks out in my head.
Really
And
good.
I think that for people that introspect too much into their partner and get too overly concerned with their partner, boundaries can be helpful in showing, hey, kind of like Tammy said earlier, as I get healthier, it's better for the two of us,
Yeah.
so maybe, have some boundaries on not always being concerned with neighbors and friends and even your children, but sometimes you have to make time for your spouse.
I will say that that's another thing that we always said to our kids growing up, that it is us first and foremost, because we always said to them, because without us there's no us, right?
Mm.
And so having that boundary, that they cannot come between us, there is nothing that can come between us. We will always put each other first, even above our children, in the name of family, because there is no family if there's no solid foundation here.
I like that.
Me too.
Yeah, it
Um,
was pretty big for kids to try to manipulate their parents as we were raising our kids. I don't know if that's still
yeah,
the case. I don't know if kids are.
That's changed.
yeah, we're noticing that quite a bit actually. So if there's other, young couples that are listening to this, what kind of advice would you have for them? it's people that are starting out on their entrepreneurial journeys and just trying to figure it out. You guys have a lot of experience.
Over 30 years to pull from.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Get 2 tubes of toothpaste. Just do it. Just don't share the toothpaste. It's fine. I know it sounds silly, but there's actually like a life lesson in there. Like it's okay that everybody has their own thing, right?
Mhm.
And he doesn't have to do things the way I do things. I am not it surprises people that I'm the grab and squeeze toothpaste person and he is the, like go up from the bottom methodical person, which is not how you would read us if you knew us. Like Mike, that might even surprise you. Like, no,
yeah.
But it's okay. I don't need to force him to not do the toothpaste from the bottom. And he doesn't need to force me to do it. Like that's okay. So 2 sets of toothpaste is totally okay. It's worth the $2, but there's like a life lesson in there, right?
I am not going to look at toothpaste the same anymore. And maybe I'm going to get you your own tube.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
One of those things that just bothers you.
It's true. You don't try to make the other person you. Your strength is in your differences. I feel like people navigate naturally towards their opposites, which causes a lot of friction.
Yes.
And, the other thing I want to say is there's very few things in this world that you can't undo, but giving up on a relationship is sometimes can be one of those. Now, there are people who have the unique experience of separating for a time, even getting divorced and finding each other again when they're in a better place. Right. But that is very, very rare. I think that's the minute fraction of a percentage. So just being aware that, you can't undo certain things. Yeah. And so like, don't be so quick to give up on things because we have had very, very low lows multiple times, but I can tell you that our highs are higher than any of those and far more frequent. And even in the darkest times and the parts where I thought this just isn't worth it, I would have absolutely been so wrong and so remiss had I listened to the world and walked away thinking my life would be easier or better, because no good can come of that. Right? Yeah. Unless you're in some sort of actual abusive, physical, like real dangerous situation. Yeah. Unless it's that, you should probably lay down your pride and realize it's probably a you problem, not necessarily a them problem. And if you work on yourself, you'll be working on each other, and it's worth the effort.
And you just put so much work into it, right? It's kind of a shame to have to start over.
Right. Exactly. Everybody comes with baggage. If you think that you're going to go out there and get somebody without baggage, it's the devil, just stick with it.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, aside from toothpaste, are there any other quirky habits that you have for each other that you're like, that is unique, that is a Tammy?
Little habits, I don't know. Like the little things that it's very, very important to never put dirty dishes on the counter.
Yes.
Okay.
And even
dishwasher.
Yes.
Even putting them in the sink isn't really okay. I mean, they should go directly to the dishwasher.
That's facts.
And if the dishwasher has clean stuff in it, it should never have clean stuff in it.
It should not.
Because you should always
empty it.
First thing
you need till a need. Got it.
So it's kind of like, I think a guy wrote that, who was the guy just wrote a book, Make Your Bed First or something.
Yeah.
Make your bed in the morning.
It's that for Tammy and the dishes. But quirky things. I think that I purposefully make myself late these days because I can. And I think that everyone should look into their own habits and ask themselves why they do it.
That sounds like a big boss move right there.
Yeah.
Well, it is kind of, but I even do it and it frustrates Tammy and the kids and stuff. And I don't know if it's a boss thing as much as it's like a revolt from the structure that I had early in my life.
Especially military.
Yeah, military. I was always afraid I was going to be late and lose my job. And now, like, I'll be almost like purposefully late. And so it's...
which is a cardinal sin in my book.
It's a bad habit.
If you're 5 minutes early, you're late.
Yeah. Yep.
But she's good. Another fun thing is she's really good looking when she's angry. You've never known. She's always happy around you guys.
And
But
then it's
my favorite
attractive.
thing is to make her really mad because it's hot.
There you go. Did you know this, Tammy?
No, he's psychotic. I don't know what he's doing.
So maybe his revolt is actually, besides being late, is intentionally poking you or putting dishes on the sink so he can see you in this light.
Angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a face turn pink. And...
Yeah. Do you have any quirkiness for Bob?
He does this weird thing. Okay, he doesn't know any songs to hum, and he doesn't have any rhythm. But like when he's walking around doing stuff, he'll hum. But there is no song. There's no rhythm. There's no anything to it. He's just all. And it's like it is true. There is no rhyme or reason. There's no song. It's just this weird like making.
It's a tune in my head.
But it's not.
It's okay.
You're just making it up as you go. It's just weird.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on from tunes, who in your family is most likely to start a dance party in the living room, and what song would they choose?
Ooh.
Definitely.
You think you would be most likely to start a dance party?
Okay, well, I will tell you this.
No, she said in the family, like this includes the kids.
Oh, including the children?
She raised her hand before she even listens to the question.
Well, because so here's the thing. I think we're all guilty of this, but Bob, again, going to the whatever, like Bob will do every morning, like he would go wake up the kids when they were younger, and he would go in and sing them like a little song that he would like make up.
Yeah.
And like when he goes and when he brings the dogs in, from like taking them for a walk, he does this like dry off zone, we're gonna go to the dry off, like he has these little like do 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 do, like that's always this like silly little ooh ooh ooh. So if you're going with not an actual song, then that's Bob. Bob would be the most likely to start a dance party.
She is most likely to create the structure of how to judge the dance party.
Dance off.
Dance off, yeah.
We would all
be competition. Yeah,
we would all be starting the party, and she'd be like, "Wait, you guys gotta, do your left foot, and we'll see who has the most spins." And if you win,
it's turn it into a dance contest. Yeah, that is facts. Everything should be a contest.
That's awesome. All right. One more, and then we'll start wrapping it up here. But if you could go back and replay one day as a family because it was so much fun, what day would that be?
Ooh,
and you don't have to have the same day.
Wow.
There's so many.
Because it was so fun. It was really fun for me when the kids were young, and I was able to bring Tammy and the kids with me up to Alaska on a business trip. And we kind of went to a bunch of different glaciers and walked around, and it was cold out, but there was like bald eagles flying and all kinds of neat stuff.
We got to see the top of Denali,
Nice.
which was good. It was the last day of the season, and we have that national park passport, and we couldn't find a ranger, but we found a ranger station, and it was unlocked, and so we went in and went into their own the stamp and stamped it.
Because Denali was closed. It was winter.
But we're like, we have to get the Denali stamp.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think for me, one of the things that sticks out is we did this crazy, and it's just sort of, there's lots of these stories, but this is sort of like indicative of those, all the same stories. One of Tyler's birthdays, I think he was like 7 or whatever. We did War Through the Ages.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a good one. And so we started out in the Revolutionary War, and they had like, I don't know. We had target practice with like,
Oh no, like we started with ballistics, and we built catapults in the basement.
That's what it was. We started in medieval times, and everybody had to build their catapult. Yeah. That's what it was.
Wow.
And then when we got to World War II, we had made a potato cannon. Yeah. And we did the potato cannon outside, and Tyler's born in December, so it's snowing, and we're all out there, and the kids are making like these shelters out of snow, and we shot the potato cannon, and it went through our yard, past the neighbor's yard. I mean, the thing went like a half a mile.
We had no idea how it was going to go.
It went so far. And all the smoke came out, and the potato was just like a projectile, was just gone.
Yeah.
And all the 7-year-old boys erupted and
Yeah. 7-year-old boys are just going nuts.
Oh yeah.
So they're chasing
oh my
potatoes.
gosh. And
Those are some epic birthday parties.
Oh, yeah.
We need to,
Well,
it was
yeah,
super
and
fun.
Yeah.
Amy would always make special cakes for the birthday too. So she made like a fort out
Out
of
of brownies.
little brownies.
It was this whole like
Little-
stacked up thing.
Oh, guys,
Like one time we did a pirate one, and we moved all the furniture out of the living room, and we made a pirate ship out of cardboard and a king size sheet for the sail hanging from the ceiling.
wow.
And they collected doubloons, and they could go to the pirate booty store and buy like, an eye patch and like all the and then they had to go on a treasure hunt for the cake, and I had made a cake shaped like it was a treasure chest that actually opened, and it was full of like candy jewels and all this stuff. So just sort of indicative of like how
the birthday parties were pretty fun.
they were always epic. It
That
was
sounds
just
awesome.
the
That's
potato
amazing.
cannon, man. That was like, that worked. It was fun.
And those are creating those lifetime moments for your kids that they're going to either always treasure or be able to share with their kids, and
Yeah.
like magical moments.
Yeah.
That's what you got to create. So that's really
True.
awesome.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we had a lot of those when we didn't have much to. We would have pizza Friday at home and make our pizzas at home.
Because we had no
you know,
money.
and all
We were trying to pay off our debt,
Yeah.
We were creative with the
Yeah,
kids.
when you don't have much, you figure it out.
Creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, that all sounds so fun. It sounds like you guys had a lot of great memories and experiences, especially with the kids. And I know now, Tammy, you're working with Tyler in the wholesaling business. And Bob, you're enjoying retirement and finding out who you are. So
Yeah.
I think that
Learning
sounds
to
awesome.
enjoy it.
Is there anything that our audience could help you with?
Yeah, I mean, we are always looking for people to partner with in wholesaling and flipping. So, I mean, we have lots of private money partners. And so we're always looking for more private money partners because we're always taking on new projects. We're always looking for referrals for good contractors. We're always looking for people that we can JV, people who are just doing this for their first time, like that we
Sure.
can come alongside them and provide value. Maybe they bring the deal, we bring the money, let's work together. Let us, help you, help us. Let's all grow together kind of a
I
thing.
love that.
You can, our company is Trind, TRIND, Trind Home Buyers. So it's at Trind Home Buyers or at TrindyTam on Instagram.
Nice.
Perfect.
We'll put links to that.
Yeah, we'll put some links in there. But yeah, on the business side, we just love to partner with people, especially newbies coming into it, like learn from us and our experience.
And that's all up in Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, Akron, those areas up there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking to expand in other markets soon. So we're checking out a few.
Nice.
So yeah.
Awesome.
How about you, retired Bob, who still does things?
I can't really
Tips
think
for
of
keeping your bonsai alive in the winter in Ohio.
Yeah,
You could start a YouTube. You could go viral, Bob.
Dude,
I think
I've
so.
always wanted a bonsai, Bob, but they just seem like
They will outlive you.
and they're probably more work than they look like.
They're a lot of work.
I think that I should go viral. That's my next plan. I'm gonna try to get some videography going
Yeah.
and
Yes.
trim up the trees. It'll be
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Real
Well,
good.
give us some tips if you learn of anything that works.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
sure.
Awesome. You guys are great. We'll put all the links to all that stuff in the show notes and link you on Instagram and all that. So hopefully our audience can connect with you. But thank you guys so much for sharing your journey and your vulnerabilities with us today. We super appreciate your knowledge and your wisdom. And we just really appreciate you. So
Really
thanks for coming on.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Having us, guys. This is
It's
too
nice
much fun.
seeing you guys.
Love it.
Yeah, love it.
Thanks for being part of the family today. If you want to see more of our journey through our personal life, businesses, and adventures, give us a follow on Instagram at Our Family Invests.
If you like this podcast, share this episode with a friend. And if you really want to support us, we would be so grateful if you would leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Your review helps us to reach a bigger audience and bring on more amazing guests. Thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate you.